More than 200 firefighters are still on leave and banned from entering their workplace because they do not want to get the jab. Joining us now to discuss this is the founding director of the Australian Firefighters Alliance, Steve McDonald. Steve, great to see you. This is just weird. I mean, you can't work. Tell us about your own personal story and the others that you represent.
Well, thank you, Rowan. Look, I'm here because myself, Jason, Josh from Ballarat, Dan from Queensland, and Jan and Tony, firefighters with over 200 years professional firefighter experience, made a decision back in November 21 that we did not want to take the jab. And
this is your right. Yep.
None of us could have believed that fast forward to June 2023, we would still be here unable to work as professional firefighters in New South Wales or Victoria.
It's just science, eh?
Mind-blowing, isn't it? And why, you know, when we saw a big fire in Sydney last week, it's not as if fires have stopped. So what do your bosses or those in control say to you? Sorry, go away, we're not interested?
They say it's a health issue, it's a workplace issue. But
well, hang on. Let's just hear the Chief Health Officer, the Chief Medical Officer of Australia, the person behind all the mandates, all the social restrictions, all the lockdowns, the one who was giving the leading medical advice. Here's what he had to say in Parliament this week.
I think at this stage in the pandemic, there's little justification for vaccine mandates. We have a highly vaccinated population.
It's just science, eh?
Mind-blowing, isn't it? Little justification for vaccine mandates. Why are your bosses telling you that you can't work? And more importantly, that Australian lives are at risk. People will die in fires because 200 years of experience is missing from the firefighters.
That is a great question, Ryan. We're scratching our head. In Victoria, unvaccinated volunteers are allowed back to stations. At those same stations, the paid firefighters are allowed to volunteer at their own stations, but we won't pay you. That's Victoria.
It's just science, eh?
Mind-blowing, isn't it?
In New South Wales on May the 13th, we had an open day for anyone in the public, regardless of your status, to come in, meet the firefighters in your community. I was allowed to go there with my children, spend the whole day there without any questions asked, yet I couldn't turn up 2 days later onto my rostered shift and work as a firefighter, put on my uniform.
It's just science, eh?
Mind-blowing, isn't it?
In New South Wales, we've got a new government now. Has there been any indication that anything is going to change under the new Minns government?
Well, James, you and I spoke about this the other night on Chris Kenny. Chris Minns, sadly, has been silent. He was a retained firefighter in New South Wales before he became a politician. A lot of people don't know that. He was one of us. He has anecdotally lent his support to firefighters across New South Wales, yet he wouldn't take any of my calls. He hasn't used his platform to influence and suggest to the Fire Commissioner in New South Wales, this is lunacy. We want the best fire service that we can have. Bring them back to work.
Rita?
How does the logic work in Victoria if you can volunteer?
Correct.
But if you want to be on the roster and get paid, then you're a health risk. But if you're volunteering, doing precisely the same thing for free, you're not a health risk. I mean, on the face of it, it's absurd.
It's just science, eh?
Mind-blowing, isn't it?
Is there nowhere you can take this in? There's not Fair Work Commission or somewhere you can take this grievance?
You can bet, Rita, we've taken it everywhere. We've spoken to the senators in Canberra. The AFA was invited to Parliament House in Canberra. We've been to the New South Wales Parliament, and Anne-Marie Hermans, who you may know is the Shadow Minister for Emergency Services, took that very issue and looked at the Emergency Services Minister in the face in Victorian Parliament and said, please explain.
Please explain.
It's just science, eh?
Mind-blowing, isn't it?
She had nothing to say. for the Victorian fireys who are out of work.
So, Steve, does it go beyond firefighters? Are there what other areas?
Look,
I know there are police officers, there are...
As you can imagine, Rowan, I've been in this space for 2 years.
Yeah.
My colleagues are John Larter, the paramedic who took on Brad Hazard. Roland Crystal, 35 years, now retired because he didn't want to enter into this madness, police officer in New South Wales. Educators, childcare workers, Graham Hood, the pilot, hospitality workers like Brad Hill, the publican at the Singleton Caledonian Hotel. We know one another because we are the ones who've been put in this position of discrimination and victimisation for so long. But it's the public and the community that are literally being discriminated against without them even realising it.
It's just science, eh?
Mind-blowing, isn't it? And so you're still being paid, but you're not allowed to work. So the taxpayers...
No. I need to clarify that.
Tell us about that.
Firefighters were stood down without pay.
Okay.
We were told, you can go on your own holiday pay. Won't that be nice? You can take your long service leave. We won't pay you. And for me, 22 years in the service, I've been able to hold on. But fireys who were, say, 5 years in the job, they had no long service leave. They exhausted their leave. They exhausted their leave entitlements 12 months ago.
And so what are those people doing?
Other jobs, trying to pay their mortgages, trying to feed their families, trying to put their children through school.
And in those other jobs, they don't need any sort of jab requirement, even if they are, as in, firefighting, coming into contact with members of the public.
It's just science, eh?
Mind-blowing, isn't it?
That's exactly right. I mean, the police dropped their mandate on the 1st of June. Firefighters and AMBOs and police, historically and currently, we turn out together all the time. How does that work? You can have unvaccinated police now working, but the firefighters in New South Wales and Victoria still aren't allowed to work. What happens at the border with Queensland? Does the virus magically become less virulent?
It's just science, eh?
Mind-blowing, isn't it? Steve,
Or the South Australian
here on Outsiders, we like to have solutions, and the solution is here for you, which is garlic, apparently. Garlic is the new cure for COVID, apparently. So had you just taken some garlic all along done this? Now, I know I'm being flippant, but this is the absurdity of the COVID regime, that we have a situation, you can't work. So many people can't work. Those services are needed. We need firefighters, we need paramedics, we need police officers, we need doctors and nurses. They can't work.
Are they requiring the firefighters to have boosters every few months, or is it just the 2 shots?
Wow, Rita, you brought that up, because the irony is, when we asked for the reason why this would be the case back in December 21, we were told, oh, it's not our decision. We're relying on the WHO.
It's just science, eh?
Mind-blowing, isn't it?
New South Wales Government, ATAGI, TGA. Our fire services stopped following ATAGI advice in May 2022. They don't follow it anymore, yet they keep their policies in place in a punitive way with no justification.
It's just science, eh?
Mind-blowing, isn't it?
Yeah, because if you haven't had your boosters, really, I mean, if you're going to follow this philosophy, at least be consistent with it.
Well,
and they're not even consistent.
ATAGI would say, Brendan Murphy would say that there's no difference between those who took the 2 shots back in December 21 and the unvaccinated firefighter who, for whatever personal reasons, said no, is still not allowed to work.
It's just science, eh?
Mind-blowing, isn't it? Thank you so much for coming on Outsiders today. I hope we can do something to help, because this madness has to stop. There have to be some politicians with the guts to stand up in government and say all this craziness has to stop. Steve McDonald, thanks so much for coming on. Good luck with your fight, with this particular fight, and it'll be good to get you back out there doing what you should be fighting, which is fires.
Rowan,
so much.
on behalf of myself and all these other industry workers, can we thank, Sky News has pretty much been the only mainstream media channel who has listened to and taken seriously the plight of fireys, ambos, police and all those industries. And we thank you for that, because without that assistance, I don't think the public would wake up to the fact that this is still an issue. So thank you.
Gratefully received. Thanks, Steve.
That is what it is. So, yep.
No, that's too wishy-washy. Too wishy-washy.
The corona needle will protect kids, old people, men and women.
Well, the young corona needle, gotta keep them a safe one for all the kids and for all the men and women.
What if I get sick, even though I'm vaccinated, can I sue my employer?
There's nothing suspicious.
Stupid deaths, they're funny 'cause they're true. Woo! Stupid deaths, hope next time it's not you.
I did a little dance